What is up, homies? Welcome back to another episode of the Heroes Reforged podcast. We promise you another fun episode. We are here to deliver, baby. Before we get into it, really quickly, if you want to check out all of our movie and TV reactions, check them out on YouTube and on Patreon. We've also got a movie reaction, the first one we actually ever did on our YouTube channel.
Really?
With this little movie called Prey.
Ooh,
So
that's a big deal.
That
was your first?
That was our first movie reaction. Hi, Dan Trachtenberg. How's it going?
Hi.
We got the director of Predator Badlands, Predator Killer of Killers, and of course Prey, Dan Trachtenberg, and also joining us, the executive producer and editor of Predator Killer of Killers, Stefan Grube. Thank you guys so much for being here.
Yeah, man. It's a big deal. Thank you both for being here. It's a huge honor for us. And we're kind of cut from the same cloth as far as like the YouTube stuff goes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, we were in the Hollywood machine, so we kind of know how it works. And
we're sympathetic towards it.
We're sympathetic towards
So that's
how it is. So.
Well, I did not know that your guys' first
Prey.
was Prey.
I honestly just discovered that a couple weeks ago because I was making an updated list of everything we had watched.
Yeah.
And I went back to the very bottom and I was like, oh, it was literally Prey.
Wow.
Because we were apprehensive about doing movie reactions because we just didn't know how they were going to perform.
Yeah.
Because when we started, it was just trailers. And then our stance was, we're never going to do TV shows because it's too much of a commitment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then with the pandemic and things started to come out, we were like, maybe we need to pivot and try. Because there's no harm in trying and seeing how they perform. And with Prey, it was like, well, they're not putting it in theaters, so we should just watch it because we all love Predator.
Yep. Yeah.
So why not? And we had all seen 10 Cloverfield Lane. I went to that screening that you did the Q&A for.
Right.
And
Beyond Fest screening.
Beyond,
For that?
Was that Beyond Fest for 10 Cloverfield Lane?
It was at the Arrow?
Was Steve Zaragoza?
Oh no, that's right. We talked. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
No, that was just at the Chinese. Yeah,
Chinese
the man's.
theater, I think, at TCL,
Yeah.
And so like we were like, well, he made a really great movie already, so this has to be good, right? And then we got Prey and we were like, holy crap, this movie was incredible. It
was.
So
It was actually the first time you all had watched it. You watched it together.
Yes.
And recorded ourselves.
Yeah.
And it went so well that Dan continued to talk to us. So he was like, hey.
He was
so
like,
that's
they're
how-
not that dumb.
That's how,
I discovered you guys probably just, I guess, through that then, through seeing
trailer reaction.
the reaction. But I definitely, in terms of cut from the same cloth, not just having also started doing podcasts or whatever, but the way you guys talk about things is just, I think we were raised on the same movies and had all the same conversations growing up about movies and video games and all those kinds of things. So I just felt there was a kinship. I started really enjoying you guys, but that's it's crazy that was the first movie.
Well, let's talk about that
Hulu.
time in that movie. I mean, it was crazy times when that came out.
Yeah.
It was it always supposed to be straight to Hulu? Like, was it always a straight to streaming kind of idea?
I wish I remembered the exact. I was almost going to check the email the other day, but I'd because I'd emailed one of the execs at 20th Century Fox at the time the pitch for Prey, and at that and essentially they were making the Shane Black Predator movie, the 2018 movie.
Yeah, so there was overlap.
There was overlap, and my reps were like, maybe spend your time figuring something else out because they're already doing that, and it did seem like, oh, this is probably going to be the start of like a new trilogy kind of thing.
Right.
And Shane was coming off of Iron Man 3, and or maybe there was something in between. Nice Guys.
Nice Guys came out in 2016.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That was a
Wow.
great one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
So the idea was just too good. So I just like emailed the idea. And at the bottom of it was like, and we could call it Prey. Because if only because
it was an anthology
only
idea,
because
right?
if they're going to make no, not an anthology, but if they're making this Predator thing, I was just offering up like, call this Prey, like kind of like the Star Wars story.
Like
so it's not, you have your
Rogue
main
One.
trilogy and this will be this thing. I should also say that before I even pitched to them, I told my friend Stefan the idea.
Probably years before, right?
No, it was around that time.
The same
you got
time
me
you
jazzed
pitched
up.
them?
You got me. He's like, okay, yeah, this is a good idea. I should.
I got you jazzed.
I should go for it.
I got him jazzed.
Because Stefan
This is
said,
gonna be awesome.
Stefan's background is in marketing
Mhm.
on trailers,
movie
and-
trailers. That's
Okay,
right.
very cool.
Okay, very cool.
Yeah.
So that's a compliment coming from a marketing person to be like, good name, good idea. You can sell
Absolutely.
this. Let's go.
Yeah.
Well, that
well,
night
the
we got
real
into
the
the
real thing
marketing.
was he goes, the poster for your movie
Oh.
is her face and predator blood as
Oh
you
my
know.
genius.
And it was like,
Genius.
it's like in the idea of like just the idea of it, and it's just like, yeah, we got to make this movie. We got to make this
And
movie.
then you wrote
This
that
is why
into
you're an
the
EP
movie.
now.
yeah.
You wrote that. You're like, oh, then at some
It
point
became
she's
the
gotta
end of the
get-
movie.
It's the end of the movie.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Wow.
That's awesome.
Spoiler alert. But it's on the poster.
Y'all.
Yeah.
But
That's so cool.
which is funny because we always talk about what's kosher to be in a trailer. We talk about what lies are okay to be
What
in
lies
trailers
are
and what
okay.
lies
Ah.
and what's not, you know, and
Yeah.
but this is like our ending was on the, you know. By the way, the ending is also really very more so on the steelbook there, but
Yeah.
Right.
But so, so your question was it always going to be streaming? So at that time, in 2018, everything would have been theatrical.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And it was moving forward because they really dug the idea, thankfully. So despite being, in production on the 2018 movie, they were starting to motor a little bit on this movie. And then the merger started happening.
Right.
You're
And-
right.
I see.
And then also then it became close enough where like let's just see how the 2018 movie does.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it didn't quite perform as they wanted, so we were shelved.
Yeah.
But
and-
then the merger.
And then the merger
and then
happened.
there's the possibility of like, well, now this company has Hulu.
Yes.
That all was sort of falling.
Yeah,
into
but even
place.
then,
Wow.
I was at the time, our now frequent collaborator executive at 20th. When it came back, he kind of dusted off the script, and said that look, it was so nascent. Like I don't even know. Is there going to be a Hulu?
Right.
I don't even know.
Sure.
And
Right.
we'll probably
It was
it'll be
unknown.
theatrical overseas,
Yeah.
and maybe it'll be a both thing. I don't even know. So I was like, all right, cool. And then it's Hulu and streaming. And by the way, the cool thing, I was just thinking this as you guys were saying, your first reaction was Prey. Me discovering you guys was that is the of course we want our movies to be playing in theaters, but the cool thing of it releasing on streaming is opening week, like as soon as it's out,
Right.
2 a.m. after the midnight, like I can go online and see people react, and it's certainly amazing to be in an electric theater, but also to have this on people and see tears forming or whatever it is. It's like it's so awesome. It's like nobody really. I don't think we talk about that enough. Like throughout history, creators of things do not get to see this.
Right.
When we
right.
do test screenings, you do like night vision on the crowd, and it's a big wide of the crowd.
Yeah.
In TV, they do. There's certain kinds of formats for testing. I did a pilot, and they tested over Zoom and stuff. So we got this on
interesting.
people.
Yeah.
I've never thought about what you're describing right
Yeah,
now.
I've
You're
never
absolutely right.
thought about it. Yeah.
You're seeing like if you're a stand-up comic,
Sure.
you see the audience, but
Right.
you see the people in the front row and they have a distance.
Yeah.
I'm getting this
Yeah.
on everybody.
Yeah.
You know, which is hopefully good.
Everybody,
Sometimes,
but mainly you guys.
yeah, mainly you guys. When people don't like it, it's this of
That, and then you click
know.
next.
Yeah.
Can I ask?
No, I love watching all of it.
In
Yeah.
this space, in the time that you guys were doing Prey,
Yeah.
because whenever it was decided to be like, this is now going to be a Hulu streaming project, I mean, just as a fan, watching how like badass and unique and specific and in my mind, very uncompromised this movie is. It's a beautiful movie, Prey. It's so good. Did you feel like there was a freedom because it was like, this is Hulu streaming versus a theatrical?
No, because I was in denial.
Okay.
Right. Yeah.
What does that mean? You're in denial?
I don't think I would anyway if it was streaming. I would not think of the format.
Right.
I wouldn't be like, it needs more close-ups because people are seeing it smaller. Like
Sure.
I don't think anyone
Gotcha.
really thinks about that.
But you did. But what I'm asking is sort of like, again, just as an outsider, not in the studio system.
Yeah.
Did it feel like you guys had maybe more freedom that you didn't have oversight.
The freedom that we had
Yeah.
actually was I mean, we have very cool execs, so
Yeah.
but the freedom that we had was more afforded by the pandemic and shooting during COVID.
Interesting.
And we were shooting in Calgary.
Yeah.
And so no one could. I mean, not
Go to
that
set,
even
yeah.
now we're not in the pandemic. It's not like we had the studio on set all the time.
Right.
And
But
I was just to be clear, I was just a spiritual advisor at this point.
Got
At that
You
point-
were in Canada. I was in New Zealand.
Oh.
And we would talk after you were shooting
Yeah.
most nights, or you share stuff.
That's true.
But I didn't. I wasn't really on board. I wasn't really part of the
Right.
team until
Post.
you guys were. Yeah.
Yeah.
You guys
But
were posting.
you
Interesting.
worked on 10 Cloverfield Lane with Dan.
Yeah.
Is that
Yeah.
where you guys first connected?
Yes,
Yes.
we met on the steps of Robert Evans' patio on the Paramount lot.
Really?
Yeah.
That's what that office
back,
is?
Yeah, back in
Yeah.
that little.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how we met. And who set it up? I can't.
Yeah, Bad Robot set it up.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
basically, my first movie, I was certain that the editor that they would show me and audition for people to meet or whatever would be like grizzled veterans. That's the idea. And they were like,
So fun.
we want you to like go meet this editor that's like basically you, same age
Yeah.
as, like
Yeah.
hasn't done a movie at all. But and they were doing Force Awakens at the time, and they showed me what eventually became the piece they played at Comic-Con.
Oh, yeah,
cool.
yeah,
The
the
BTS
Wow.
The BTS thing
Wow.
that
Yeah.
Stefan had cut.
Oh,
And it's
very cool.
awesome.
It's great.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
That
I
thing
don't even
lit
know,
up
why
Paul
did you
H like
cut that?
crazy.
If it wasn't
Why did
for
I cut
something,
that?
it was just for
No,
like.
it was. I
rap?
think it was for.
This
I
is
think it
well
was
before.
for Comic Con, but they.
No, but I saw it was a piece before.
Mm.
Like in 2013.
Well, guys,
know what I'm
so this
saying?
is my main fear about this whole
Okay,
format.
okay.
Would be remembering
Sorry.
anything.
Sorry.
But,
It's funny because I kind of wanted you here because I thought you would help. 'Cause I don't remember things.
Well, but that's what I thought was
So
going
yeah,
to
I cut some Star Wars stuff. I put it together.
So
and-
he did that magical thing.
Yeah.
I was like, hey, he is really good. And then
You're like, I got to get him on Cloverfield. On
well,
10
and then
yeah.
we met. We started talking about the script, and I was really stressing out about story stuff. And as we were talking about it, he everything he said, like first of all, he like understood exactly what I wanted the movie to be and what I was struggling over, and was immediately helping me with the concepts on the page. It was like a very therapeutic situation.
I see.
And kind of like the way you guys found each other, and
Yeah.
like when you feel like you find a friend, and like it was oh wow, he's already like helping and is awesome. And that is a lot. I can't speak. You can tell me, having worked with other directors. I've had a very limited. I've worked with you and only a couple other people.
Yeah, how does he rank with other directors? Who's your favorite to work with? Where is he?
but I mean, I
Dave's
shouldn't
like,
stop.
no.
I shouldn't stop. Maybe I should do that. But you when you're in the editing bay, you are stressed out about the movie, but also about the studio or the producers or an act, whatever it is. Like, and there is a therapy vibe to like help me deal with this.
Yeah.
And Stefan is so good at that, as well as like even when we were shooting, Stefan was cutting while we were shooting. We were shooting Cloverfield Lane in New Orleans.
in a tomato canning.
Yeah.
An X,
Wow.
yeah, an X factory, which is a lot of studios
In a
these days.
bunker, in a basement. Yeah.
Basically.
Down in the trenches.
Yeah.
But the way that he cuts is not just like I don't even think you ever do like this is just an assembly. Even from the jump, he's thinking like a filmmaker.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Like how was the scene best unfold? So for instance, just to like zero in from your first what you showed me on set, not like we assemble together and then we think it through and then we come up with cool ideas. There's a scene where John Goodman is giving a tour of the bunker to Mary Elizabeth Winstead's character, and she has to go to the bathroom, and they get to the doorway and they're talking about it the whole time, and then it cuts wide and you see the bathroom is just like a little tub in the corner of his room, And the traditional way to cut that would have been like, and here, and then we see it, and they have a conversation about it, and it's awkward. But he, as an assembly, put it together as this tense conversation where they're referring to this thing, and then we cut wide. And I remember people asking us to cut that more traditionally as through the process, but that's...
And I was like, no,
Yeah.
I don't know how. But also, I will say, coming off our first conversation, and we had so much fun even in that first meeting, I was like, I got to learn how to use an Avid.
Wow.
You were cutting with scissors. And
But I was
Splicing stuff together.
Like even at Bad Robot at the time, I was working in I was like Final Cut 8 or Final Cut 7, and they would have to overcut an Avid. Do you remember this?
Yeah.
It was a nightmare for the team.
Wow.
Yeah.
So anything I worked on, I was like, no, I'm too fast. I don't have time. So, but then
But too fast is a shocking
I know.
statement for you to make about yourself.
I'm not speedy.
Yeah.
I'm not
But it's great.
speedy guy.
But and just to say a little bit more, but so background on Stefan, of why he was so highly regarded. Actually, I might need you to help fill in a little bit because I don't remember the exact JJ origins. But Stefan cut the Force Awakens piece, that first Force Awakens, the Chewie We're Home, and the one that was just only a few shots, and to great acclaim. What was the stuff that you did before that?
And I met my best bud Jen,
Yeah.
who's down here. She's just down the street.
Cool.
You guys, we should.
Yeah,
we
cool.
should-
Let's go.
Let's
Totally.
House or
Yeah, she works at Artist Equity.
Right. Oh,
Yeah,
that's
she's
here.
Down
Gotcha.
the street.
Gotcha.
She had been working on Trek, on the second Trek. And sometimes you work on a trailer, months and months and months, eventually you're just kind of walking into walls and you're not sure how it's going to work.
Yeah.
So I came to help her. She pieced out. We all hit it off. And that's how, we met Ben Rosenblatt.
Ben,
who's,
right.
EP
Ben Rosenblatt,
on
who's
it.
the producer.
I've heard good things about Ben.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's
Ben is
great.
incredible. It's reason we made 2 movies at the same time with Kill of Killers and Badlands, all thanks to Ben.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah,
Ben Rosenblatt.
whose knowledge of the movie making process extends so far beyond the traditional.
Yeah, he was
producer.
post supervisor on Cloverfield Lane. He ran the post part of Bad Robot. Because Cloverfield Lane was the first foray into like them doing everything in house. So they had Kelvin Optical was like all the visual effects were in house.
Yeah.
And obviously the whole post production arm, and so it was all run by Ben, which also includes additional photography. So Ben, I then started to understand Ben as a producer of also shooting things, and then we just became fast friends, and Ben after leaving Bad Robot became sort of known as the like the wolf in Pulp Fiction for TV series. Would come when people are having issues, he would come in and help fix.
Oh wow.
And on Prey, he was very helpful. I mean, he was there initially as a to be there for post, but then became like a real keystone of making the movie awesome. And then we embarked on this crazy journey of 2 movies. But I cut you off about Jen and no.
No, I mean you're bringing up something that I think is important to talk about a place like Bad Robot, or that's our reference. I imagine it's the same at Amblin or something. That there are places that are built by a person. In the case of Bad Robot, it's JJ. He's an incredibly generous, talented filmmaker. The magic part of that place that I don't think people talk about are all the people there outside who you find. So in the case of us, I mean we met there, and now we're working Ben with it.
Yeah.
And we left there, and sometimes we come back there.
Yeah.
But I mean, also Michelle. I mean, there's the people who find their way to those places where there's so much magic happening. It's
awesome.
Do you guys have any sort of like internal non-negotiables between yourselves to make your partnership and relationship creatively work so well? Is it communication? Is it as simple as communication?
Whoa! I love it.
Adam's turning this into a therapy session right now.
Well, because I feel like the relationship between a director and an editor is like one of the most important ones, because you're in the editing room probably all the time, and you're watching scenes iteration after iteration after iteration after iteration to the point where you're probably sick and tired of looking at it. So how do you what do you think really works for you guys that keeps you sane through that process?
I don't get sick and tired. Yeah.
It's just all fun, huh?
This is
no,
a good time.
definitely not.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We don't.
There's a lot of pranks on Cloverfield. A lot
Okay.
A lot of
a
pranks
lot
on
of
Cloverfield.
yeah.
We worked super late.
Yeah, all
Obviously,
the time.
again, it's so funny. We had never the idea that they paired us together, and that was
Yeah.
only because of JJ.
Yeah.
Mhm.
JJ and I had worked at Paramount. I worked at marketing at Paramount.
Yeah.
There's only. Can you imagine? Like, I actually didn't know how to use Navid. It's crazy.
That's wild.
But we found our way, and we had all this room early because JJ, like, Dad was away.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, he was working, he was doing Star
Was
Wars.
he doing Star Wars?
Yeah.
I listened to a podcast where you guys he talked about it was like kind of chaos a little bit.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
I'm sure like security
then-
was reporting because
Yeah.
we were so crazy in the building.
But because Stefan is so talented and in demand in the trailer part of things, when they needed trailers for Star Wars, we would go on a
Oh, yeah, we
hiatus.
paused.
Yeah.
Wow.
Stefan is like in that world forever.
That's so funny. Yeah, we paused twice. I think.
Twice, yeah. For Comic-Con and for D23, probably.
And we didn't.
Yeah.
Obviously, you can do that when our movie wasn't dated.
Right, so we could just
Oh, got it.
toil away and work and work and work.
Right.
We shot in 2013, it came out in 2015. 15.
Yeah.
16?
16, I think.
15?
I think it's 2016.
Sorry, I'm going to
2016.
do the shorthand that you just did, which I think is great. Clover Lane? I think it was 2015.
Did I say Clover Lane?
Yes, you did. Clover Lane? Well,
Did I
that's,
say that?
that's what us industry people
We should
refer
have
to.
called it
It takes too long.
It's an
We call-
interesting term.
Yeah, it takes too long to say 10
We call Mission
Cloverfield
Impossible
Lane.
Ghost Protocol
Field
Ghost
out.
Protes.
It is.
Yes.
The problem with that title is it doesn't. I really don't. I don't like 10 CL. Like sometimes my
Oh,
No, no, no.
yeah, the shorthand.
and then
Clover Lane.
and 10
No.
Cloverfield. It's like Cloverfield Lane.
Yeah.
Or I'll say the Cloverfield movie that I did.
Cloverfield.
Yeah.
And before it was
nope.
called 10 Cloverfield Lane, it was called Valencia. I mean, while we were
Yeah.
working
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
Valencia.
You guys are right. 2016. You're right about your own movie. You're right. It's 2016.
Hector, come on.
Also, my
guy.
daughter was born in
I wouldn't
2016.
Wow,
okay.
Anyway, what are we talking about?
I don't know. what we're
Well,
talking
Stefan,
about.
what are
Your
we
guys'
talking
working
about?
relationship and how you guys
Yeah.
keep things
Yeah,
fun
yeah,
and
yeah.
light
Well,
and
it's
how you guys
changed
vibe.
a lot.
Uh-huh.
Because,
Yeah,
you know,
I think what's is very quickly recognized Stefan is more than editor. He's
Mhm.
really a co-filmmaker, which was why he became this odd combination of editor / producer, which is bizarre. I think there's a few people that have had that.
Man, it
but
sounds
is
so
it-
normal to me.
It is right in a different
Right? Totally different context.
Yes. But yeah, it's been essential. I'm trying to think of on Prey the big unlocking that Stefan did was on the opening of the movie. It used to not open, right? You know, there's the thing where she sets out on her journey.
Yes.
Wakes up in the morning and, you know,
Yeah.
the movie opens with her kind of going through the motions and doing that thing, and then so that is like a mirrored thing.
The
It used
original
to not
opening
do
was that she's by the river and she tries to shoot the eagle, right? And then the other characters
Correct.
show
That was
up.
how it used to
Yes.
start on that.
Yep.
And then Stefan was really pushing. And sometimes he'll have an idea where we're like, but the opening worked. The opening's playing for people. It's fine. And he'll be like obsessed with a thing. Like it could be, and we're like, okay, buddy, okay. I don't know why we always doubt it. You work on that and we'll be fixing the real
You'll
problems.
talk
of the
You're a
movie.
about,
tinkerer.
yeah, you'll talk
Yeah.
about an idea, and in the case of that, you end up spending so much time kind of arguing or pitching.
Yeah.
And you're like, man, I'll just go cut it.
Yeah.
Do you know?
And then,
Yes.
and then it's
Yeah.
like what he always does is like he'll find a great piece of music
Mm-hmm.
and he'll put it together in such a magical way, and it's like, oh, now it's special.
Yeah.
Now it's real special. And that became the opening of the movie. Yeah,
Very cool. So how far away are you from directing something?
he's
I don't
close.
know, yeah, well, we got a few things.
He's close.
Oh,
He's
yeah?
real close.
You're
That-
like, you just marketing, editing, producer. I'm like, let's do it.
You're getting
Unleash.
there. You're going there. Yeah.
Predator.
And then retirement.
Yeah.
Cinematographer, let's do the whole thing. Come on.
Yeah.
Is it going to be Killer of Killers 2? Because we want a sequel. So
Dude,
is that
yeah.
what
We're
it's
gonna
going to
make
be?
another one.
Be awesome, man.
Yeah, we should make another one.
Yeah.
We're
Going to be the sequel for
Good
sure.
diversion. It
Yeah.
would be awesome. That would be great.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that's great. And
Yeah.
again, we're so happy that you're both here.
Yeah.
And thank you for keeping him sane. It seems like he keeps looking to you, like
I know.
with great.
I've actually probably taken years away from your life based on.
Well, it's
the
also
pranks.
like you really because you get lost. I really trust his taste.
Mhm.
Yeah.
so when you're like, is this thing? And him like, it's cool. It's a thing, you know?
Yeah.
Or sometimes like, what are we doing? This is terrible. Which happening more often than not these days. But
before we move on to Killer of Killers,
yeah.
what is the thing you're glad you cut from Prey that maybe you guys got together that you're like,
Well,
oh
I
my
gotta say,
God,
'cause
I'm
we should
glad
talk
that
about
stinker
Angela
got out of there.
and, you know.
Yeah, but I guess I should have. That was the context for you doing the opening. But Angela Catanzaro was our main editor.
Yep.
But those two got along super well, and we wanted to make sure that we were able to continue to include the magic that Stefan.
But I mean, Angela,
brings.
all the great stuff in the movie.
Yeah.
That's Angela.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Okay.
To be clear, I was.
Yeah. Just recently worked on Thunderbolts, I think.
And
Yeah,
she
yeah,
did.
yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
She did. Because, yeah. You know, Angela, like, there were, like, the scene where the war chief is kind of giving Tabe his props, and after he comes back with the lion, that was a full dialogue situation.
Wow.
And it wasn't. So it's interesting. Not only was it a struggle to make sure we were articulating the right stuff, but there was also setting up. We had so much we wanted to set up. This is then reflected in one of the Killer of Killer chapters.
Yes.
But it
The
wasn't
sword,
taking
right?
away dialogue
Mhm.
that made it actually, like, you think you need to articulate exposition. You think you need more words to help explain things. But fewer words means people can feel it and then imbue whatever they need, you know?
We'll talk
we're
about
gonna
that.
take this back to the cutting room today.
Yeah.
This for sure.
Yeah.
Wow.
So Angela cut that scene, and we were struggling, and then she found a great piece of music once again.
And that river sequence too, right?
And the river sequence was
incredible.
another sort of montagey thing that we were really trying to get the most amount of emotion out of it. And yeah, she really unlocked
Amazing.
it. Yeah.
It feels like we're now in the timeline. We're catching up to jumping into talking about Killer of Killers.
Yeah.
So we talked a little bit about this before we started rolling, but Augustine and I we met in college studying animation. And we are all three massive lovers of animation. And the fun thing is,
we had to
because
get Adam into animation
because
he was not an animation
he
guy.
didn't grow up as much with it as we did.
A variety of animation.
We
yeah.
have been showing him as much stuff as we can, and it's been one
I
of the
take
joys.
that to mean you grew up with Disney, but you guys were into like anime.
DC, actually.
He grew up with DC.
The DC stuff, like Batman the Animated Series.
Oh, yeah.
X-Men.
Yeah. But yes, we did show him like Akira. Yes,
Yeah.
correct,
Yeah.
correct. So like,
Yeah.
I'm a little behind on some of
And
those
we
things.
still have to watch all the Disney classics.
All right,
because
you
he
don't need to
hasn't
put me
seen
on
the Disney
blast. You don't need to put me on blast.
classics. It's like that.
yeah.
So not even the Disney. How does that?
I grew up watching RoboCop and Terminator and X-Men.
I see.
and-
You're the inverse of me.
I got immigrant parents,
Yeah,
so
that's awesome.
they never cared.
That's
But Dan and I both watched Akira when we were way too young.
Yeah.
Same here. That's why I love motorcycles too,
Yeah.
because I love that movie.
Hence,
That movie
Killer of
formed me.
Killers.
yes. Wait, by the way, let me just say.
Yeah.
I'm just now realizing this. I fell in love with Akira so hard that for Halloween I wanted to walk around as Kaneda.
Yeah.
And so I had no means to acquire anything that looked like his costume. And also, like, I have good ideas sometimes, but I can't execute them myself.
Can relate.
So this was my way of doing it, was I got a jean jacket.
Yeah.
And then painted with like puffy paint or whatever, a pill on the back. 'Cause that's the like
With
insignia.
puffy paint?
Yes. And I had
good for your
my
health.
like kid's toy motorcycle helmet.
Okay.
And I would go door to door and then say, "Who are you?" And I'd be offended. You don't know Kaneda, who I didn't look like at all.
You'd be like, hang
looked
on.
nothing like
You'd
that
be like,
character.
wait, and then you'd be like, Tetsuo. And they'd still go, who are you? I don't
And
know.
also, the suburbs of Philadelphia, like,
Yeah,
has
yeah.
anyone seen
Yeah,
Akira?
yeah, yeah.
Also,
in
what year? It's very
1990?
important.
Whenever I found it on VHS, I think I was in 6th or 7th grade.
Yeah.
So it was
Maybe
probably
even-
92.
Wow.
Even if somebody went, Akira, you'd be like, no, I'm Kaneda from Akira.
Right, 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 right,
Okay, man.
Get it right.
All right.
right.
The point is
yeah.
that the question I've got is, at what point did you know you had an opportunity to do a Predator animated film? Because animation is so special to us. We love it so much. We defend it. We feel like it does not get enough respect. It doesn't get the respect that it deserves.
Yeah.
So getting to see the storytelling that you guys work on, first of all, also on the big screen, because we got to go to the premiere of Killer of Killers at the
you
Egyptian
lucky
Theater.
guys.
Seeing it, you
we
weren't
lucked
there?
out.
I was there.
Yeah,
Okay,
It's just
it was
that
amazing.
sound mix is so
Good.
Yeah.
It was so special, but like the animation is gorgeous. But just talk to us about like when you knew that was a possibility and how that got started.
It really came from the co-director Josh Wasung is a frequent collaborator of ours as well. He is one of the founders of the company, The Third Floor, that pioneered, I think, Previs.
Yep.
They started on the prequels. That's why it's called The Third Floor, because it was like the third floor of a building on the branch of the Skywalker Ranch.
For clarification, for people not in the know, you're talking about the Star Wars prequels?
Correct.
1999?
What other prequels would they think I'm?
No, we never know. We just got to make sure.
Sometimes our audience, very young people, will say stuff for shorthand and they go, I don't know what you're talking about. Okay, great.
But yeah, then the start. Yeah, so we done almost everything together, and really enjoyed working with Josh, and the way that I was. He's probably like you guys. The way that I was about live action, like from a very young age, just studying it as if I was going to be making it one day. Josh was about movies too, but specifically like a lover of animation.
Yes.
A lover of what it is, what it was, and what it can be. And then found his footing in doing Previs, which involves exclusively animation.
Yeah.
But never, those guys help every director realize their visions, but are never there in the end finishing the thing.
Right.
Mhm.
And you've also said, sorry to cut you off, but I
No.
love this thing you said. I saw this in one of the little promo packages for Killer of Killers.
Yeah.
That you wanted to bring to life the concept art, because you'll work on a live action movie and it's just gorgeous concept art that in many ways the audience will never get to see that unless they go buy the art book, which by the way, can we get some art books, please? Can we,
I know.
We collect a
can we
lot of
please
stuff.
take that notes? Can we do that notes? Like art of Predator, Killer of Killers?
Oh, yeah. Day one
Even
purchase.
for our most favorite movies,
Yes.
Star Wars,
Yes.
you look at the concept art,
Beautiful.
Oh, incredible.
still,
Doug Ching's work,
still
amazing.
not the concept. Like there's still something. So but Josh was like, we can do animation.
Yeah.
And he would show tests and stuff. And so that was the trigger to start thinking about, is that a thing to make Predator animated? I very quickly locked into the idea of what Badlands was.
Okay. Okay. So you're like, this is live action. This is happening.
And that is live action. But Badlands is not in concept like Prey in terms of we're visiting another historical time period,
right,
and then Predator enters that.
Right.
And I was like, man, I really want to not. I want to do what Badlands is, but I'm hungrily also want to do more time period thing. But how can that be special? And so animation was one part of like, oh my gosh, yeah, like the way that the violence unfolds in a Predator movie in animation. Oh my gosh.
Oh my God.
What
man.
can we do
Oh my
there?
God.
Oh,
Yeah.
baby.
And I really enjoyed making a movie that was emotional and dramatic, and a great story for a movie before the Predator was even a part of it.
Yeah.
And
Dude, Killer of Killers
that-
is so good.
You take the Predators out,
These
equally compelling.
This is how good it is. These segments start and like the shield with the
shield,
Viking mother and son, and then the violence where they're raiding this area and this woman is using this shield in a way that I'm like, I fucking love this character so hard. And then you get a little bit of that shimmer of the, by the way, this is going to be a spoiler talk. We have to talk about Killer of Killers
Yeah.
at a
It's
spoiler
out.
level.
You should watch it.
Then there's that Predator shimmer and I go, oh yeah, oh shit, there's Predators in this.
Yeah.
And it happens for every segment, dude.
Every time.
So, but that in animation,
Yes.
so that was just Predator. It was also like, oh, could we do something that is unexpected in an animated movie to have storytelling like that?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
So
that was the why in a sense of animation.
But the combination it sounds like I'm hearing is like it's the third floor going, hey, previs is great, but we can animate fully.
Yeah.
And you going, okay, clock that.
Yes.
And anybody at 20th Century Studios going, hey, you got any more Predator stuff?
Yes.
Prey was really good.
Yes.
And you going, okay, clock that. And then you going, I have 3 ideas, which you've talked about before.
Yes.
Badlands is one. The time periods is another. And you have yet to ever talk about the third
mystery
idea.
one.
And what it is.
Oh my God. Whoa.
Adam, that's where you cut to beep.
What? Do I know what it is? Yes.
Oh yeah, I know.
Of course you know.
Wait, can we play that audio back? Did you just whisper it into your microphone? Dan, is the secret this? Yeah. Producer Mark's got it.
Mark's got it.
You got it on.
Sorry, dude. Sorry, Stefan. Good. You gave it away.
Yeah, you know
You were
what it
Mike.
is.
Yeah, you know, it's like Garfield.
What's that?
Absolutely.
So
Garfield 2?
So it was you
Electric
going,
Boogaloo?
oh, this is all locking into place. We can use third floor. We can do it animated.
Yeah.
We can do time periods. Okay, great. Okay.
Yeah. And once again, producer Ben Rosenblatt, who's like, yeah, I can make this work. We can
Very
pull
cool.
this off, you know. And it was absolutely insane us being, and Stefan also being an editor and producer on both of the movies too. So it wasn't even, and third floor doing previs for Badlands, whilst also doing, you know, everything for Kill of Killers. So which it weirdly, like on the one hand you would think the smarter thing may have been to like have one team on this and one team on that so everyone can work, but actually like for Ben, because he was producing, he could adjust this meeting for Badlands to accommodate the thing we had to do for Kill of Killers.
Gotcha.
But there were days on set shooting action, not shooting dialogue, but shooting action for Badlands, where I'd have my headphones in one ear and then an earbud that I was sharing with Ben in another ear, where I was listening to the Killer of Killers, which was called Warehouse at the time. But was listening to a warehouse meeting and people debating about something while having this. And as soon as they yell cut, and they're like, you know, what's going on? But I'm like getting real, like everyone's kind of debating a thing that I have a real strong opinion about. And I'm
God.
And I'm like, actually, can we? If it could be, you know, and
The
then
best
like
was the van.
Insane.
They had a Starlink van in New Zealand.
We all got
We'd be
cancer, I'm sure,
talking,
from
and then Dan would be like, whoop. Whoop, he gets a little motion sick.
I get
so
very
we
much
have to
sick, so we had
pause.
to time
Yeah, we
the
did.
meetings to like when we were like we knew a certain part of the drive was gonna be like a really windy road.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
can't
yeah.
look at this.
Oh,
one.
I
have
see.
to.
Wow.
Um,
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a lot
I'm
at once.
I get that too.
You're that way too.
It
sucks.
If anything goes backwards slightly,
I
even, I'm
can't-
done.
Yeah, I
Game
can't
over.
do. I
Yeah.
can do roller coasters, but I can't do spinny.
Same
And then
here.
as I've grown older, I can't do the. And now we're going backwards. Yeah,
Oh.
on
Are
a
we
train,
siblings?
You gotta find. I gotta find like facing.
Oh, yeah.
I
Yeah,
can't.
yeah.
I have to go the same
Yeah.
direction
Yeah.
that the train is going because
And people
otherwise I
get
get
so
sick.
much work done in motion on
Yeah.
planes and
Yeah,
things.
yeah.
Yep, me.
And I
Yeah.
can't get any work done.
Oh.
Same.
Yeah,
Same
yeah.
here.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, wait, what do you
Interesting.
do on flights?
I watch movies and I sleep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Normal things.
Yeah.
Normal people
things.
things.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
So-
or listen to podcasts.
So
Yeah.
very quickly,
Strike
since
that
we're
from the
such-
record. That was a dumb
Yeah.
question to ask. Could you not write that down? That was dumb. Okay, great.
So I want to
great,
talk about because there's so much to talk about, and I feel like we could talk for hours. But one of my favorite things about Killer of Killers was the decision in the second movie, or I'm sorry, the second series to have
the sword.
the sword, very minimal talking.
Yeah.
And I will preface this by saying I'm a huge fan of Genndy Tartakovsky.
Yeah.
And his work in Samurai Jack, specifically the Three Blind Mice episode where it's no words whatsoever.
Yeah.
But the action is some of the best stuff I've ever seen. And
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys have ever seen Primal.
Yeah.
That series that he did too.
Primal-
No talking.
Primal was definitely
Yeah?
I mean, for Badlands, it's an influence.
Oh my
Oh
god!
my God.
Oh my god!
Oh my lord.
Get out of here!
No
dude.
way.
No, but like a combination of Primal and prior to that, I can't remember the years that everything came out, but Fury Road also.
Oh my goodness.
You've mentioned that before, yeah.
Yeah,
For
it was
Prey.
because Fury Road, it's like, God, it really is doing the thing that I, as a kid, you fantasize about. I remember always thinking that Temple of Doom was like, I guess revisiting it when I was slightly older, and I was thinking, it is a nonstop act. There's no scene in Temple of Doom that is not an action scene.
Yeah.
I consider the dinner scene is still like there's a set piece to it.
Yeah.
When they're talking by the fire before they get to the temple and there's like a snake that's crawling behind. Like there's still like there's tension in the no scene is just die. And now we're just learning every scene has some sort of set piece-ness to it.
Yeah.
Some visceral quality to it. So I've always been like, oh yeah, it'd be great to like make a movie that is just action. But still moving and all that
Absolutely.
stuff. So and Fury Road really like uncorked that. And then I remember seeing Primal like, oh, he's pulling it off. This is so badass. Really a beautiful, moving thing. The opening of Once Upon a Time in the West is another huge example of like, I love, you could even be patient. You'd think that when you're telling a story in their words that you'd have to be more active, but Once Upon a Time in the West is super patient. Opening of WALL-E is another one of those, right?
Yeah.
So yeah.
I have a question.
yes, you.
You just had a great article on Letterboxd. We love Letterboxd.
Oh yeah.
You mentioned
8
films that influenced Killer of Killers.
Yeah.
You know, and reading through it, I'm like, yep, Conan the Barbarian, yep, all of this stuff. But then you had one in there that I was like, what? And you don't explain why, because you're like, it's a spoiler. But now this is a spoiler chat.
Yeah.
How does the movie Best in Show
Oh,
influence?
interesting.
You said the ending of Predator, Killer of Killers.
Yeah.
Stefan, any thoughts on this too? Best in Show?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
How did you influence this?
It's a
This
part
is
of
the Christopher Guest, like, famous comedy.
Yeah. No. I'm sure we've talked about it, but it was an influence on the formation of Killer of Killers, but it's evident. It's a spoiler for the end. But I remember seeing Best in Show, and which is a competition movie. You kind of forget about that. You're being lulled into the Christopher Guest comedy of it all and laughing. And I think when you laugh with characters, you really bond with them in a very specific way. And you're laughing at this character, and you're laughing at this character, you're laughing at this character, and you're loving the time you're spending with them. And then you get to the end of the movie, and suddenly like, wait a second, I'm feeling sports movie feelings where normally you're like got one character you're rooting for. Now I care about everybody. And I had no idea the movie was doing that to me. And I was like, I've never been in more suspense for the results of a competition. Because when you watch,
because you're invested with everybody.
Rocky or whatever, it's like
you know who to root for.
I know who I root for, and it's probably going to go a certain way. Rocky's surprising, but so. Anyway,
Spoiler alert.
So that was the like, oh my God, it would be so cool to make a movie where I'm bonding with these 3 warriors in their chapters, and then in the end, they are forced to fight each other.
Yeah.
Who are you rooting? What do I want to happen here?
Exactly.
Yeah,
That was
the best
really
show.
cool twist.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Awesome.
Okay, very cool. But anyway,
Yeah.
I just want to say that about that section of the movie because
sword.
that was my absolute favorite
silent-
one.
yeah.
And mainly, obviously, samurais and predators, very
Oh,
cool,
baby.
very
So
cool
good.
concept. But the fact that it was just action driven, but still so emotional.
Yes.
You still felt the tension and the love between the brothers.
Dude, and when the one brother thinks he killed the other,
Oh my God.
he looks at basically the ghost of his father. That
Yeah.
presence he still the way that you guys
You're
are
really
using
getting
the
the movie.
predator
I know.
like
Getting it.
that it's he has to basically fight this always feeling like he was in the shadow of his father and feeling that really complex bond in the form of now I have to fight the predator who slices through a painting of my father metaphor thick but good.
It's funny 'cause that came. Well, 2 things about that. One, it's like you're right; it is a really thick metaphor, but in a movie where you're not expecting, like, it would be heavy-handed in a drama.
Yeah.
But in this kind of thing,
Yes.
But also, it came from a misunderstanding of mine from producer Ben Rosenblatt, who is always pushing for like flashbacks, but well-executed flashbacks. To remind us of the emotion, not to remind us of exposition and story, but to bring emotion back into it. And he kept saying maybe in this moment after he dies, there's like some flashbacky thing or something. I could have sworn what he meant was what I was like, we'll do a cool thing where we see the painting and we flash to it, and it's a weird because Ben's always pushing for weird too, So I was like, I really felt like, and then when I started pitching it, and people were I would say there's a healthy dose of skepticism about the idea.
What?
Even in terms of animating it, people were like, how's the hand go through?
Yeah.
Like, well, the face will just open up and it's weird and it's space. And affording it, because it was a late idea, so it was also like affordability at the time. And Ben was like, that's not what I was pitching. And I was like, this is your idea. You pitched this. And he's like, no, I meant like whatever. I'm like, dude, I'm telling you, this was, we got to find a way to make it happen because you
so
pitched
funny.
it. Yeah.
So sometimes good filmmaking comes from misunderstanding.
Absolutely.
Sometimes from your
Absolutely.
producer.
And I would also say my first assistant, Zach Rosenblatt, who also got an additional editor credit on this movie, he really worked. That was a spot late in the game that he spent a long time helping us figure out. So just to give Zach his props, he really landed that plane.
Mm-hmm.
If at any
That's
point you guys want to give props to anybody who worked on Killer of Killers, who worked on Prey, like we're so appreciative of everybody at every level.
We're good.
Okay,
Done.
great. Never mind. Great.
That's it.
Next question. Ursa mentions the Grendel.
What do you do on planes? I'm sorry.
What do you do on planes? That is a stupid question. You're right, Stefan. Sorry, we please strike that from the record again. That's a stupid question. Stupid question.
What do I do on planes?
You're a good editor. You're a good editor. That's good. That's called a callback, folks. And you're going to do it the third time, and it'll be even funnier when you do it in a
It'll
little
be
bit.
emotional.
Exactly.
Oh, remember when Hector asked a stupid question? How great. No, real question, if I can get nerdy for a second.
Yeah.
How fun was it to
Just for 1 second.
For 1 second.
Yeah.
To include some of these, like when we saw the trailer for Killer of Killers,
Yeah.
I remembered thinking like it's going to be really fun if there's the idea of in our what?
I'm sorry,
Go
I'm
ahead.
thinking of the plane. I'm wondering what you're doing. We crossed over.
I
You were
read.
too.
I read.
You were like, what happened?
Yeah,
You
happens
saw
all
the
the time.
plane. I saw you looking at You were with me. We're done. It's over. That doesn't even count as a third time.
No, it's 2.5.
Doesn't count as the third time.
It doesn't.
So much
That's
for the callback.
2.5.
What is this?
There
This
you
is
have
a
to have more
podcast.
space. You have to have more space. That's good. That's good. My question was, when we saw the trailer, I was like, it's going to be really fun if these Viking characters think the Predator is something else, and then it leads into the mythology of our actual human history. If the Japanese fighters think that this is something else, a demon or something.
Yeah.
And even in the World War II segment, there's something up there. It's ripping up our planes. It feels like the myth of the gremlins that we would hear about, which is really fun. How fun was that stuff? And did you want to land on it harder or pull it away, or how did you figure out how much of that to do?
It's a good question. There was a scene that was cut for time, and that you brought up at the very end. You're like, there's no way to get this back in. Remember by the campfire, Freya was talking
we took
about
the Grendel mythology much further.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
in a version of that campfire scene, Freya kind of tells the story. So she presents basically one of the tricks of the movie is there's new mythology, right? We're telling you more about what the predators may do or what they do in this story. And so we had this idea that she would explain kind of the first half, that somebody went missing, someone successful, then went missing from the village, seeding what we're
meant to feel linked to Anna in Predator 87.
Okay.
Telling the story of
okay.
they
Right.
come in that hot
Right.
times and
Yeah, it was cool.
So, but yeah,
Awesome.
But it was cut for time.
cut for time.
Okay.
Can we get a
Couple
director's
things
cut
for
then?
time.
We also
For
had
the Blu-ray?
we also had a little sing-song scene that was
Well, that
Oh.
was not with that. That was
like
instead
the
of
lead-in.
that. We were
Yeah.
trying to that where they were doing the equivalent of what's the thing that became jig? No, not jig. Whale
Shanty.
shanty.
Yeah, shanty.
Okay, it's like
Shanty.
chanting.
Yeah,
Okay.
remember also
Okay.
shanties became a thing. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. The pandemic was weird.
Yeah. Yeah, they had a little shanty for a while.
Yeah.
That's
Um,
probably the thing I gotta say. One of the things I missed the most.
That's I know. That's
That's
the shanty or the story.
The shanty.
Oh,
in
interesting.
the story. But it
Yeah.
was a moment of lightness in the story.
Mm.
Yes.
So post cutting the guy in two, then they're back. And
There also was a scene that was cut before that where they are wandering in the snow. It was funny thing about it, there's no trek. The whole thing was it's like Predator where they're going on a
I see,
trek
I
and
I see.
people are going to be killed one by one.
Yeah.
we obviously had to tell the story more efficiently. But we had, in the initial cut of the movie that's prevised, was a scene of them seeing some skinned hanging bodies.
Oh, I see.
A la the original movie.
Cool. So they're stepping into the predators kind of area.
Yeah, and he was stalking them for longer.
Yeah,
and
it's really cool imagery.
Yeah.
Like
I believe
snowy
it.
Forest and all these frozen bodies.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Here's a question for you. Do you guys have, is there somebody at 20th Century Studios? Or
Oh boy, I know what you're asking.
I know. It's because
I know.
this is
I
your
think I
job.
know what you're asking.
This is your job, but your job is also to service the story.
Yeah.
And
No,
I'm
there is
asking,
no
like,
mastermind that like the gatekeeper that's like, I know. Yeah, no, when Prey happened,
yes,
I was like, all right, give me the Bible. You know, like show me what's the lore of the land?
Yes.
What are we,
What are the
know?
guardrails?
Yeah.
And there was, Star Wars has that, and lots of, franchises have that. Marvel has
Pablo,
a
the
Pablo
best.
Hidalgo. Yeah.
Yep.
That does not exist. And thankfully, eventually, I linked up with Alec Gillis. It was Alec and Tom with ADI at the time. Alec Gillis is the creature maker, the special effects guru behind most of the Predator movies, most of the Alien movies. He started under Stan Winston on the original. I don't know if he started on the 87 Predator, but he was on the 87 Predator. So he's been with it the longest and is very much the minder of the aesthetic of it all, which is sometimes very hard to articulate. If I were to ask you guys now, like Star Wars has an aesthetic, Star Trek has an aesthetic.
Yeah.
How would you describe the difference?
yeah.
Don't actually answer it, but like, it's. I mean, you can if you have it, but I'm putting it in the spot because it's like it's hard to find the words.
Yeah.
Mine's very particular
Yeah.
because I've talked to this and Hector got real mad at me for describing it this way. But when so I'm not a huge Star Trek fan.
I'm a big Trekkie.
But the inside, the insides of the ship always reminded me of my parents' Chevy Astro van.
He's talking about the next generation. He's talking about the
So,
80s
like,
aesthetic.
and that's why I would
the
turn it
carpets
off.
in the
Because I'm like, oh, this looks tan and taupe. Like I'm not really into this whole
Funny.
this whole thing of
You're
what
talking
they're
to
presenting.
people that you guys worked on Star Trek Into Darkness.
I
Bad
know,
Robot.
exactly.
It's a very
but
different,
that's not the projects that I'm talking about.
Right,
this
right,
is me in my formative years of like, okay, there's obviously different things.
Yeah.
To me, that's the first thing I saw, and that immediately just kind of like shut me off from that fandom.
Right.
Because it would always turn on. It was always come on as well after the shows that I wanted to watch were on. And so it was just kind of like when MASH would come on at night. Whenever
I know
Star
what
Trek
you
would come
mean.
on, I'd be
That's-
like, click.
I was a little. By the way, I would say Star Trek is very nautical. Star Wars,
Yeah.
like interestingly, like very advanced transportation.
Yeah.
but are very archaic communication.
Right,
Yeah,
right,
Right?
junky and-
Holograms and
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
Lot of
speakers
junk.
for communication.
Right.
Yeah.
Fast and light travel.
Yeah.
But anyway, so Alec, we brought on board even when doing an animated movie, even when doing Kill of Killers.
Yes.
He was our design and creature designer, and
So not a lore keeper, but like an aesthetic.
an aesthetic
Consultant.
consultant.
Yeah, yeah.
And I mean, he built the suits for Prey, and on Badlands, him and Weta joined forces.
Oh,
So
hell
it's
yeah.
really like old and new coming together to do something in a very new way with Badlands. But,
I'm asking too, because in Prey,
Yeah.
when you guys were designing the technology that the Predator had, you knew they're like, well, this is going to be earlier than 87 Predator.
Yeah.
So this race doesn't have this type of technology.
Yeah.
So you're sort of confirming some of this lore. Do you have like a timeline of the Predator species technology, like, to be like, okay, for Badlands, it'll be here. For Killer of Killers, we know what the 3 time periods are in these segments, so it'll be this, but then for the 4th segment's going to be this. Like, do you have your own stuff that
The way
putting
you're
together?
phrasing it is in a way that is making me like I'm not a good student.
It's very appealing.
I don't have.
Did you do the homework?
I mean,
Did you do
the
homework?
answer is yes, in that is what our approach is.
Right.
I just don't have like an Excel spreadsheet that you make me feel like I should have.
That's because he
for
has it already.
Hey, that's not
asking
your job.
for it.
And like,
That's somebody else's
but,
job.
But no, that is the approach every time, and it's a cheat in that I have these weird pet peeves that are now I'm realizing making their way into forming what the aesthetics of these things are, because I have a pet peeve with like time, like in Star Wars. I mean, it's tricky. It's allowing for a lot of interesting stories. But I played the Old Republic, the MMO, you know, and even KOTOR. It's like, okay, it's 1,000 years before. It
looks basically the same.
1,000 years from us, everything is completed.
Yeah.
There's no time is not factoring in at all. I also have a pet peeve when like you go to a planet and it's like you go to Kashyyyk, the Wookiee planet. They're all Wookiees. The fur's a little different on that one. You know, they're all like identical, which is why the Predator, the Yautja, for us is like we want to show that there are different kinds.
Diversity of.
And the way that when you come to Earth, you see that there's lots of different kinds of people.
Yeah.
So for time, it's really a cheat. I mean, it's still, and I was nervous about it because I'm now we're calling attention to it
a little bit.
But I think we got to walk the line from they're still advanced. The premise of the Predator movie is that you have Earthlings that are dealing with something that is far superior than them. But it feels like I mean, just to me, a pet peeve of like, it's silly to say like they're exactly the same hundreds of years prior.
Yes.
So it's like a little nudge in that direction that it sounds like, and Killer of Killers is the same. Viking times now, the further back that we have gone in the franchise, and so that's why that Predator has even less armor and has only one bit of weapon, and the weapon. I also, even though we could go down a whole rabbit hole of like, is this an honor bound cult? Are they cheaters or not? And all that stuff. But they do attempt to kind of meet the prey on their own merits, you know. So his weapon in the shield. He's not just rocking a shoulder cannon and just blasting everyone away.
Right.
He's trying to sort of meet people at their own.
More of a concussive thing rather than
It's more of a concussive
an instant kill kind of weapon.
Exactly.
That makes sense.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Final 5 minutes. This is our final 5.
Final five?
Final five.
Sheesh.
Okay.
We have 5 minutes left.
Yes.
Jesus Christ. The ending. We have to talk about the ending. Oh my God. The ending of Prey.
Yeah.
The credits of Prey, beautiful credits, teased that the Yautja were coming back.
Yeah.
And that Nadu was maybe in trouble again.
Yeah.
How far in advance did you have planned that we were going to see Nadu again at the end of Killer of Killers? Frozen. And is that why it's called Warehouse? Is because of that Raiders of the Lost Ark warehouse?
Interesting.
This is full spoiler territory, so
yeah.
please. I mean, I can sense your nervousness.
Yeah.
But please talk about that connectivity. And are we going to see Dutch?
Come on. Tell us.
I'm joking.
Don't look back. Come on.
This is for you.
Stefan just mouthed, who's Dutch? Great. Don't have to answer that, obviously.
What
but
were
the
you
Nadu.
specific?
The Nadu was
the
like,
actual question though was
how far in advance
did we know that we would have that thing, that
Nadu,
little nugget?
Yes. Was it from when you did the credits of Prey?
I think it was pretty early on.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, well, Credits of Prey, no. Credits of Prey
in the process of making this movie.
Credits of Prey was we're definitely want to make sure that we
Leave it
open for more, especially because the gun.
Yeah,
everyone knows that gun's got to wind up somewhere else.
Yeah.
Danny Glover has to.
So I had to, and we thought it was really cool that instead of doing a post-credit scene, like the post-credit scene is in the credits.
Right. It's the best.
Right.
It's such a good decision.
Prey. And so I think that was another part of the instigation for Killer of Killers is, if we do something that's, I mean, it's just a regular old post-credit scene, isn't it? But yeah, no, it was a joy to pull that off, and I think what that warehouse represents.
Sure.
You could think of any survivor from any predator tale. Certainly, there's now a space for them up in that warehouse.
You know.
And by the way, the gun. How's that gun get up there?
That's the first thing. So I watched it with my a good friend of mine who's a huge Predator fan. He is like 6 feet tall and has spent too much money on his cosplay. He's a professional Predator cosplay player.
Oh my gosh!
He was at another festival with Arnie, and they did a whole thing because his costume was so dope.
Really?
But the first thing he said was, how'd that get there? How'd the gun get there? That's the immediate question he asked when the gun came on screen. And so now
I thought you said that he asked Arnold.
No,
I was
no,
like,
no,
I
no,
think
no,
he
no, he
probably
didn't ask Arnold.
looked at him askance.
He's asking me about Predator 2. Why?
What are you talking about? I don't know anything.
I don't know anything.
There's a timeline.
Show me your
There's
leadership
one.
capabilities.
We love Arnie, by the way.
Yeah.
He needs to be involved in the next project.
So do we.
But yeah, when the gun came on screen, that's the immediate thing he hooked onto. And
In Killer of Killers or in
in
Prey?
Killer of Killers.
Yeah.
And it's just I think it's really interesting how you guys are just kind of using that little almost inane object and then bringing it in and having so much behind it.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Dude,
So,
it is a great. Every studio wants to have their shared universe, wants to have their franchise,
Yeah.
and I love the way these projects have been story and emotion first. But then you're like, yeah, here you go, you nerds. Let me sprinkle this throughout. It's awesome. It's great.
Well, that was the unlocking of Prey. Just when things were coming together, when it was just, I was thinking of, it'd be cool to just make a survival movie, and oh my god, what if it was a Native American story, and
You're like, what year should I set it in?
Sci-fi and whatever, all those things, and then it was like, and then Predator. Wait,
Yeah.
and then it was like. And then it was what year? And I really wanted it to be as far back as possible. I didn't want it to get into cowboy times in any way. I didn't want it to feel like a Western. I wanted it to be prior as much as possible.
Yeah.
And I was like, but what year is that?
Yeah.
And then I was like, holy crap, what's the year on the gun? What's the year on the gun? What's the year on the gun? And then I got out, I was in the shower and I got out and like Googled, it was like, that's the year, 17, So yeah. Awesome.
I've got one question that I want to ask both of you. We try to ask all of our guests. Give us your pick for who do you think is an underrated hero, an underrated fictional character, an underrated hero in anything, in a film, in a television series, in a book, and something to you that you're like, you know what?
Oy vey.
Video game.
Underrated. Hero character. Video game.
Oh,
or
I
gamer.
definitely, I feel like, there's probably really great answers to this.
I'm gonna say Donald Duck.
What's that?
Donald Duck.
Donald Duck.
Yeah,
Interesting.
Yeah, well, we're reading a lot of Donald Duck at home. The
Okay.
Uncle Scrooge books.
Those comics
Yeah.
are great.
Donald Duck taking care of those three little dudes.
You know
Stepping
what?
up.
That's funny you should say
Yeah.
that. I was just doing a deep dive on Donald Duck's family. I was like, how did he
How
get
does it
Huey,
work?
Dewey,
Yeah.
and Louie? That's really
He wasn't the
interesting.
stepfather. He was the father that stepped up.
Yeah.
Donald Duck.
Oh, is that in the theme song?
Yeah. Woo. You don't remember?
That's in that theme
He
song?
wasn't the stepfather's father that stepped up. the
Oh,
first-
wow.
No, I
I
know
only
it's
remember
not.
the chorus.
No, it's not. No, he's also their uncle. It's not. He's Uncle Donald.
That's how, I was blown away.
Okay, Donald Duck, great pick.
Who's
That's a really
who
good-
are
top
your,
bet.
who's your
Oh my
guys?
God, we have so many. Nacho Libre.
Yeah, I love
Underrated.
You like Nacho Libre?
Dude, I live and breathe Nacho
Did you like
Libre.
Minecraft? Did you guys like Minecraft?
Haven't seen
I
it
don't.
yet.
I've
Hector
seen
saw
it.
it.
Pretty hilarious.
Yeah,
Pretty great.
it's very him. I was like,
Yeah.
oh,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, it's really,
Yeah.
the end bit with the knife.
Yeah.
And hilarious.
It's great.
Hilarious.
We also
Yeah.
talk about. I'll do an underrated hero character, Splinter from the Ninja Turtles. I think
Oh
he's
my
underrated.
God, so
Everybody
good.
talks about the turtles. They're great, but Splinter again, the
core.
father that stepped up. He raised those four
now-
turtles.
Yeah.
Now it's happening.
All fathers care for their sons.
Yeah.
That's one.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
Yeah, we got a bunch of picks. But Dan,
I know.
you're gonna close us out.
No.
Okay.
See, you're putting pressure on
It's
him
just
now.
like I wanted to not just be good. I want to be honest. I want to be like, yeah, I really feel this way. And the thing, because like, really, this is not. I'm like, this is the wrong genre too. But what keeps leaping to mind, is like, this is sort of like I really don't even want to say this out loud. It's not
you don't
really
have
what
to.
we want. What's that? Say it. Is like
No pressure.
Make good choices. Say
and
it.
also I don't have the perfect memory of the movie now, but when it came out, whatever year that was, Spanglish was like my favorite
Oh my God,
movie
Adam
Sandler.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh my
that
God.
year.
I think
And
that was
the poster
2010.
says something about him being heroic.
Think?
And I just really get emotional
Yeah.
when people do something like real bravery, like real sacrifice. And like there's a great there's a great line talking of hero. This is good for the show. Do you remember Angus? Was that because you guys are a little bit younger than me? But there's a movie called Angus. This guy knows.
Oh,
producer
You
Mark.
guys don't know
nodding his head.
Angus?
I don't know Angus.
Definitely watch Angus.
Okay.
It was you don't know Angus?
I don't know Angus. We have a list.
That's true. That's true. Actually. That's true.
That's true. Watch
And
him on
then
the plane.
he'll give me a box of
That's
Blu-rays
true.
at the end of the...
But Angus, there is a moment where he's a kid, he's an overweight kid, and he's gonna try to go to a dance for the first time with the most prettiest girl who invited him, but it was for a prank, one of those things. And he's really nervous about going to the middle school dance. And his grandpa, who's George C. Scott, I believe, says, because he's really not confident and scared. And his grandpa says, Superman isn't brave. Because Superman is indestructible. So leaping bounds and stopping trains and standing in front of bullets does not take bravery because you're indestructible. Yeah. Bravery is like doing something that you know can hurt or is scary, whatever, and doing it anyway. That's bravery. Wow. So that's where I was starting to like go to like, who is that? Who is that? What's the really like beautiful heroic act that someone makes in a thing? And I don't know.
And you thought
I think that's a good answer. Actually,
you thought of Spanglish of the main woman who ends up helping this very rich family. Yeah. And there's a daughter who she gets pressure from her mom because of her weight, and this woman overnight sews a thing to be a larger size so she can wear it. And the next morning she goes, just try on. She learns the words, just try it on.
Beautiful.
And the girl's like, it doesn't fit. And she goes, just try on. Just try on. And she puts it on and it fits and she starts crying. Because she's like, you did this for me.
Beautiful. Yeah. It's beautiful. It's beautiful.
Great.
Wow.
So not like you wanted to be like Wolverine because he,
no, not even.
Like,
that was an amazing
answer. What's like a Buster Gold?
Booster Gold.
Buster Gold.
James guy's not hiring me for any DC movies.
He was gonna. Up to this point, he was gonna.
He was listening, and then he said Buster. He was like, no.
He was like, I love Angus. This is my guy. Buster Gold.
Get out of here.
Get out of here.
Guys, so fun.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
I don't have any more final questions, but I will say that I really hope that we get Predator Killer of Killers on Blu-ray.
Yeah.
For the love of God.
Yeah.
And the last thing I will say is IMAX and 3D, please, for future projects. That's I'm going to grind that stone.
If you need 3D consultants, we're right here.
We got you,
honestly,
we're
yes. Yeah. Honestly, we'll do that. I'll say it. We'll do it for free.
The next 3D meeting.
Mm-hmm. There you go.
Oh,
there you go. We're there.
Because it's just about marketing. You'd appreciate this, Stefan. 3D's not marketed correctly, but the three of us, here's what we will pitch.
What would you do? What would you do if you were to market 3D?
Truly, honest answer.
There you go.
Honest answer. Not taking notes. Doesn't care. Honest answer. She's like, this doesn't concern me.
She's all 3D dead.
She's like, the show was over 5 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. They said it's done. Okay, the bit is over. My honest answer is that, like, let's say in a perfect world, which I wish we lived in, but hopefully, Predator Badlands is going to get a 3D theatrical release. For me, I would put out a 3D specific trailer that shows off the depth, shows off the immersion, something that's cut differently.
A theatrical only trailer, obviously.
You're gonna see it in theaters. Yeah. But I would go out of my way to attach it to every big 3D release leading up to that.
Right.
Because Superman did not do that.
Yeah, and I just feel like if you can,
but that was happening.
Yes.
With the high 3D, we were all seeing 3D trailers.
It was right, but to me, they were just the normal trailer, but that had a 3D version.
Oh, right.
I'm talking about you
make
cut
it like
Stefan
3D.
You cut something to go. Not only should you go see this movie, and IMAX is going to blow your mind, but this trailer is only shown in front of a 3D version of another movie you've already paid a ticket to see,
right?
And you have to see this upcoming movie in 3D. This is why he mentioned earlier,
for people who wear glasses,
yes,
or like glasses,
right?
3D glasses.
That's your the pitch.
You're marketing to the people who are in the 3D movie.
I've already got it. To go, oh shit, I didn't know that. That's really cool. I want to see the sequence like that.
Now you say it too. There probably should be a way.
Are you sure they don't do that, or they haven't done that?
They also could.
I think it's a good idea.
They also could.
could. In fact,
you made it the happiest point.
Sanctioned.
Hey, okay.
He's gonna drive home with the biggest smile on his face.
They could push to Quest and PlayStation VR
Yeah.
and
Dude, yes.
you know, like
Apple
like,
Vision
like
Pro.
push like
Yeah.
Free
maybe
trailer.
annoying, not you know, but like
Yeah.
they could push like here's 3D
Like
trailers.
a
'cause it's-
U2 album. Here's a free download. It's on your machine.
There you go.
It's
I-
just
we all
there.
had that iPod.
Hang on, let me click on that. Oh
Yeah.
shit, that's actually pretty cool. Predator
Yeah.
Badlands in 3D. That's pretty cool.
Wasn't it so funny that everyone like wanted it removed? Like
I
people got
deleted it.
mad, and it's like
Yeah.
it's free, it's fine. You know why? Because then space was so limited
Right.
on our things that we like now before clouds and all those stuff. It was like, what is
I
this
would fill mine
giant
up
I think
immediately.
it's so personal.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You
you
know
like
what I'm saying?
invaded my
like,
space.
this isn't. I don't know if I would have picked this.
Yeah, but it was free. God, anyway,
Yeah.
Uh,
But guys,
awesome.
thank you guys so much for coming.
Yeah.
Super appreciate it. We had a whole list of questions we didn't even get to. I hope that when Predator Badlands comes out, we can have you back again.
Yeah, we'll
pick
get
your
to him
brain
then.
a little
We'll
bit
get to him
more.
then.
And your
Stefan,
directorial
you were
debut as well. You got to
awesome.
come back.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You
man.
got to come back.
Yeah.
I got
can't-
editing
you
things I
guys-
want to pick your brain about.
I can't. This is not done.
Okay.
can't
All
wait to
right.
come back.
Excellent. I like that. I like that.
We didn't land that third plane joke.
There it is. Okay.
That was it.
That was it.
But guys, make sure you guys check out Predator Killer of Killers. It's now on Hulu along with Prey, obviously. And in November, Predator Badlands is coming out. I'm so excited.
Good stuff.
Oh my God.
A
Thank you guys.
Renaissance.
We're excited
So
for
much.
you guys to see it.
Yeah, looking forward to it very, very much. Guys, make sure you guys check out everything else that we are watching on the channel. Check out our Patreon. We'll see you guys next week.
Bye.
Heroes Reforged is gonna react. Heroes Reforged is gonna review. Heroes Reforged is gonna discuss. That's why we are watching